Gam Ganapatiye Namaha. Om Sham Shanescharaya Namaha. Shani Mahatmya. The story of Shani Dev and King Vikramaditya. A long time ago, the kingdom of Malwa, with the capital city of Ujjaini, was ruled by a wise and noble king called Vikramaditya. Vikramaditya, the righteous king, treated his subjects fairly and cared for them like a father figure. He was adored and respected far beyond the boundaries of his kingdom. He had great pundits in his court who often engaged in scholarly debates that enriched the minds of one and all. One day, Vikramaditya posed a question to all the pundits. O wise men, tell me, who among the Graha Devatas is the greatest? What boons do they give, and what trials ensue from their wrath? The wise men started looking for answers in the Jyotish Shastras. They stood up one by one and started narrating the greatness of the Graha Devatas. After the narrations of the greatness of Surya, Chandra, Mangal, Budh, Guru, Shukra, Rahu, and Ketu, finally one Pandit stood up and started narrating the greatness of Shanidev. He said, Shanidev is the greatest of the 9 grahas, who likes humility and hard work. His duty involves rewarding people for their good karmas and brings terrible misfortune for their bad karmas. His wrath causes terrible suffering to one's body and mind. But if people pray to him with humility, he blesses them and eases their troubles. Shanidev's blessing bestows one with great fortune and happiness. On the physical side, Shanidev is lame but still looks handsome. He belongs to the oilman jati and is dark in complexion. He rules the Shani Graha, worships Kalabhairav, and is undefeated in all battles with Devatas and Asuras. The Pandit further narrated a story from the time of Shanidev's birth. Shanidev is the son of Suryadev and Chaya. He is the elder brother of Lord Yamaraj. When Shanidev was born, he cast his drishti on his father, and in an instant his father's body had a terrible skin disease. His charioteer turned lame, and horses went blind. But as soon as Shanidev looked away, Suryadev, his charioteer, and horses were healed. Upon hearing this little incident from Shanidev's childhood, Vikramaditya suddenly burst into sarcastic laughter. Not knowing the real nature of Shanidev, he said mockingly, Of what use is such a son, whose mere birth brings such suffering to his own father? Such a child is an enemy and not a son. The whole court broke into a fit of laughter. It so happened that while Vikramaditya was uttering these scornful words, Shanidev happened to be flying over Vikramaditya's palace in his chariot and heard his unkind words. He at once descended from his chariot and entered the king's court. Shanidev's unexpected, formidable presence filled the courtiers with fear and awe. The entire court went into stunned silence. Vikramaditya leapt from his throne and bowed down to Shanidev and begged forgiveness for his thoughtless conduct. Shanidev thundered, You have spoken out of ignorance and made mockery of me without being aware of my true nature. Soon I will enter Kanya Rashi, which is 12th of your birth Rashi, and you will have to bear the fruits of your past karmas. You're a great king, and destiny has given you a great responsibility. It's time for you to learn some humility. Vikramaditya fell at the feet of Shanidev and desperately pleaded for mercy. But Shanidev, ignoring him, swiftly climbed his chariot and fled away. The king was stricken with fear and anxiety about his fate. Nearly a month had passed since Vikramaditya's fateful meeting with Shanidev. Shani Graha had entered Kanya Rashi, which was the 12th house of losses and suffering. This marked the beginning of the much feared Sati period for him that would last for 7.5 years. Vikramaditya's mind was already gripped with fear and worries of what the future would unfold for him. Seeing the mental condition of the king, the wise Pandit who had narrated Shanidev's glory in his court advised him to perform a ritual to placate Shanidev. O king, first take a shower with medicinal herbs. Take an iron horseshoe and make it into a pratima. Worship this pratima by pouring oil and water while chanting the name of Shanidev 23,000 times. After the chanting, give generous gifts to Brahmins as if you were gifting it to Shani Dev himself. When the Brahmins are happy, visualize that Shani Dev is happy. But as Shani Dev had already gripped the mind of Vikramaditya, he showed no interest in the remedy and lamented that nothing would make Shani Dev pleased with him. He concluded that it was his destiny to undergo the unknown trials and tribulations for 7.5 years. Having resigned to his fate, he asked the wise men to leave, and he retired to his bedroom. A few days later, Shanidev came to Ujjaini in the garb of a horse trader, offering some of the finest horses. Vikramaditya was known for his love of riding horses and had a keen eye for them. The word about the horse trader spread to the palace, and the king decided to pay a visit to him. The horse trader offered to ride a magnificent looking horse that he said was worth 1,000 gold coins. Vikramaditya mounted the splendid horse, and with a single whip it ran like an unbridled wild horse with the power of the wind. The king tried to whip him again to slow it down, but the horse had a mind of its own, and it ran faster and faster, going farther and farther from the city of Ujjaini until it reached a river near a thick forest outside the kingdom of Malwa. Finally, the horse halted there. The bewildered king dismounted the horse, and to his utter disbelief, the horse, the river, and even the forest disappeared. Vikramaditya was utterly perplexed and exhausted by the turn of events, and had no idea where the horse had left him. The sun was setting, and not knowing what else to do, he decided to lie down to rest. Next morning he walked about a few miles and found himself in a city called Tamalinda. While roaming aimlessly in the city of Tamalinda and figuring out his next move, Vikramaditya met a rich merchant who went by the name Shripati. Shripati was impressed by the king's persona and inquired about him. Vikramaditya decided not to tell his true credentials and politely replied that he was a Kshatriya from another kingdom and would be in Tamalinda for a few days. Upon hearing this, the merchant thought that this Kshatriya could be an ideal husband for his beautiful daughter Alolika. The merchant had been looking for a perfect match for his beloved daughter for a long time, but without any success. With these thoughts in his mind, Shripati warmly invited Vikramaditya to his home and served him a delightful 7-course meal. With the intention of arranging a meeting between Vikramaditya and his daughter Alolika, he even offered him to stay at his home for the night, which he gladly accepted. As Vikramaditya was settling down for the night, oblivious to the plans of the merchant sent a word for his daughter Alolika. Shripati said to his daughter, "Dear daughter, we have a Kshatriya guest today, and I think he's a perfect match for you. You should marry him." The daughter replied that even though her father wished her well, she would like to meet the visitor herself before making up her mind. So Alolika, dressed in her best attire and decked with dazzling jewels, proceeded towards the guest bedroom. Alolika, the raving beauty, walked to Vikramaditya's bed, holding a thali with a lamp and flowers to greet him as per the custom. She tried to get the attention of Vikramaditya, but he pretended to be asleep. She even sprinkled some water from the sandalwood jug, but to no avail. The pretending Vikramaditya could not be awakened. She waited for 2 whole hours, and finally, frustrated by the situation, she took off her jewels, hung them on the peg, and went off to sleep next to Vikramaditya. Now, Vikramaditya was a noble and righteous man. He was worried by the thought that a young and beautiful, unmarried woman lay asleep in his bed. His upright mind told him that he should consider the girl as his own daughter. While the king lay pondering about his situation, suddenly the unthinkable happened. A swan from a painting flew out and started to swallow the diamond necklace of Alolika that hung on the peg. King Vikramaditya struggled between the choices of letting the swan swallow the necklace or trying to snatch it away. Finally, he decided to do nothing, since he thought pulling the necklace by force might hurt the swan. Unmindful of how the necklace-swallowing swan was about to change his life for worse, Vikramaditya finally managed to get some sleep. When Alolika woke up in the morning, she realized that she had been sleeping next to her suitor the whole night, and he did not even open his eyes. She decided to tell her father about this utterly unsuitable, impotent man. She began to gather her jewelry that hung on the peg last night and realized that her precious diamond necklace was missing. She woke up Vikramaditya and screamed, "You are a seasoned thief and not a noble Kshatriya that my father said you were. Give my necklace at once and get lost." Hearing his daughter's scream, Shripati rushed to the guest bedroom and Alolika narrated him the events of the last night and blamed Vikramaditya for stealing her necklace. The anguished merchant looked at Vikramaditya and said, "Is this how you pay the hospitality of your host? Return the necklace and leave." Vikramaditya pleaded innocence, but did not reveal that it was a swan that leapt out of the painting and gobbled Alolika's necklace. Who would believe such a thing, he thought. Vikramaditya only kept repeating, "It's my fate that has landed me in this trouble. Please forgive me." The merchant by now had lost his cool and ordered his servants to thrash Vikramaditya. Shripati could not extract a confession or the necklace from Vikramaditya even after a merciless beating, so he decided to approach King Chandrasen of Tamalinda. King Chandrasen ordered the battered Vikramaditya to be produced in the court and told him, "No necklace is more precious than your life. Return the necklace and be a free man." Vikramaditya, in his response, begged forgiveness and pleaded innocence. "My lord, I have never spoken a lie. I have not taken the necklace. The position of the grahas in my horoscope is producing this trouble for me. Please forgive me." King Chandrasen thought Vikramaditya was being an unrepentant liar and was furious upon hearing his words. He commanded his soldiers to chop off his limbs and throw him out of the city without food and water. He further mandated that no one in his kingdom should show any mercy to the limbless thief. Vikramaditya, the once noble and famed Emperor of Malwa, now lay as a limbless, outcast thief, crying out in pain, hunger and thirst, day in and day out. And this unimaginable agony lasted for 2 whole months. Vikramaditya prayed hard to Shani for mercy. So Shani became a little merciful, seeing his humbleness and sincerity, and softened King Chandrasen's heart. Chandrasen decreed that from then on, the limbless thief could be given food and water. The kind people of Tamilinda had been waiting for this moment, and they offered Vikramaditya enough food and water. But his physical pain from his wounds continued to make him suffer for 2 whole years. Vikramaditya entered into the 3rd year of his Sati period, and one day it so happened that an oilman's wife who was originally from Ujjaini was returning to her in-laws' home in Tamilinda. While entering the city, she saw a limbless man howling in pain on the ground. Being a kind-hearted woman, she immediately stopped and came out of her palki and rushed to him. As she came closer, she was dumbstruck to realize that this outcast, limbless man was none other than the mighty and noble king of Malwa, Vikramaditya. "My lord," she screamed in horror, "how did you come to this?" Vikramaditya was overwhelmed to hear the voice of someone from Ujjaini, his kingdom after 2 long years. He inquired about his people and his kingdom. The kind woman apprised him that everything was fine, but his people missed him very much. Vikramaditya, in turn, narrated to her in detail as to how he came to this sorry state. The woman was filled with sorrow and pity upon hearing the mind-numbing tale of her king. She had him seated in her palki and took him to her in-law's house. However, her father-in-law was not happy to see the uninvited guest and wanted to seek King Chandrasen's permission before giving refuge to the limbless thief who his daughter-in-law said was the king of Malwa. As destiny would have it, by this time, by Shanidev's grace, King Chandrasen's heart had changed and he agreed for the thief to be given shelter. Vikramaditya now helped his hosts to extract oil, and in return they provided him food, clothes, and shelter. The nightmare of last 2 years seemed eased a bit, and life was beginning to look better. This routine for Vikramaditya lasted for full 5.5 years. The Saraswati period of 7.5 years was nearing its end, even though he had lost his kingdom and even his limbs. But now at the old man's house, who was his kind host, Vikramaditya's mind was at peace. He was content and had no complaints. He had accepted his fate and destiny. And it was in this mode of surrender to the higher power that one day the accomplice singer in him, who had forgotten to sing during the years of intense ordeal, burst forth into an enchanting raga. He began singing Raga Deepa, the musical composition which, once sung with perfection, has the power to light the lamps. Vikramaditya was singing Ragadeepa with such extreme precision in his melodious voice that the city of Tamalinda spontaneously lit up with thousands of oil lamps. It was a sight to behold. This captivating scene caught the attention of Princess Padmasena, the daughter of King Chandrasen. Sitting on the balcony of her palace, she wondered how the night suddenly lit up like Deepavali, the festival of lights. Meanwhile, Vikramaditya stopped singing and the lamps went out. There was darkness again. Padmasena realized that it was the singing of an accomplice singer that had created the magical night of lights and sent her maids to look out for him. The maids went looking for the singer and produced Vikramaditya before the princess. Padmasena requested Vikramaditya to sing for her, and he sang his heart out through the night until the break of dawn. The princess and her maids had listened to Vikramaditya through the night, and now were fast asleep. But Vikramaditya had no sleep in his eyes. His Sarasati period was coming to an end, and he had more questions than answers about his life. He wondered if Shanidev would be pleased with his conduct, what he would do next, and so on. While he was immersed in these thoughts, Shanidev appeared before him. Vikramaditya leapt to bow before Shanidev, but could only make a gesture because now he had neither arms nor legs. Shanidev said, Vikram, I'm very pleased with your attitude and humility during your ordeal of last 7.5 years. Ask me a boon, and I'll fulfill your wish. Vikramaditya had become a limbless oil extractor for an oilman from a mighty king. He could have easily asked for his kingdom and physical form to be restored, but so full was his heart with the well-being of others that he replied to Shanidev, O Lord, I seek nothing for myself. I pray to you that may no man or woman suffer as I had to in the Sarasati period. Please, somehow lessen the ordeals that people are bound to suffer for their past bad karmas. Grant me this wish that no one suffers like I did. Hearing the unselfish prayer of Vikramaditya, Shanidev became highly pleased and instantly restored his limbs and youth. Vikramaditya turned into a radiant and handsome man again. Shanidev further says to Vikramaditya, O noble and righteous king, you endured intense suffering and misery during the last 7.5 years of Sarasati, yet you did not ask any boon for yourself. You neither asked me to restore your limbs, nor you asked for getting back your kingdom, but instead you showed concern for the well-being of others. You surely deserve to know my inner nature, which sometimes even the wise fail to see. Now listen carefully. In the three worlds, I am regarded as a ruthless, angry, and egoistic graha who causes misery and trouble to one and all. My drishti strikes fear in the hearts of jivas, devatas, gandharvas, asuras, and other beings. It is incorrectly presumed by most that I bring forth misfortune out of anger and vengeance. I am worshipped out of fear, and it is believed that praying to me will placate my wrath and ease hardships. However, the truth is that at the time of creation, I, the slow moving graha, was brought into being and given the duty of delivering the fruits of karmas of all beings. True to my nature, I go about discharging my duties faithfully and uncompromisingly. My periods are mainly Sarasati, Ashtam, and Chaturth Shani, Mahadasha, and Antardashas. These periods are deciphered from Kundali of a being, casted as per Jyotish Shastra. I cast my glance on the minds of those who come under these periods. By taking control of their minds, my drishti triggers situations and responses in their lives for them to enjoy or suffer, as the case may be, the fruits of their prarabdha karma. I am just towards all beings, yet I like people who are hardworking, humble, truthful, detached, persistent, punctual, and wise. I also like beings who are devoted to their ishtas, gurus, and those who are humbly submitting to higher power and perform the remedial measures given in the Shastras. Japa, bhakti, and other sattvic rituals are good karmas which can mitigate some bad prarabdha karmas and sometimes completely neutralize the bad karma phal. That is why the wise ancient seers, the giver of Jyotish Shastra, have prescribed remedial measures for the benefits of all beings. Due to sufferings in my periods, beings are purged of their arrogance and haughtiness. Sufferings and miseries makes them aware of the fleetingness of the world where nothing lasts. They are forced to surrender to invisible higher power. All these are ultimately for their own good. The wise among them understand and turn to spiritual path and do good actions which finally release them from the cycle of birth and death. Those who do not understand my message would again fall in their old ignorant ways and keep on going through the endless cycles of birth and death until they are fed up and wisdom finally dawns upon them. It is also important to remember that I am responsible for giving fruits of good prarabdha karmas and not only the bad ones. If the native has good karmas, then my periods will bring forth auspicious events and fortunes shine brilliantly upon them. One and all, however mighty and powerful they may be, have had to bear great trials in their periods of Sarasati and Ashtam Shani. Lord Ram, Devi Sita, Indradev, Chandradev, Lord Krishna, Pandavas, Kauravas, Ravan, Queen Damayanti all have suffered. Not even my own Guru, the preceptor of Devas, Lord Brihaspati, was spared. Strange as it may sound, I myself am not out of purview of karma. I too had to suffer my own bad karmas. My arrogance was destroyed in the past when I had to suffer insults at the hands of Ravan for many years. He also made me lame by kicking me hard. Since then I limp and walk slowly. Lord Hanuman also once destroyed my pride and arrogance by his invincible strength. Thus, understand that the law of karma reigns supreme in the creation and no one can escape it, not even Shanidev. This is my secret which I shared with you. People who understand this rahasya and change their attitude wisely would ultimately be freed from the clutches of ego minds and be ever blissful. Having instructed thus, Shanidev blessed Vikramaditya again and granted his wish by assuring him that those who read and listen to the story of Vikramaditya's trials with humility and devotion would be protected against extreme trials of their past bad karmas. And blessing the king thus, Shanidev flew to his heavenly abode. Vikramaditya's tall, strong frame and striking face were awash in the golden brilliance of the morning sun as he reflected on the words of Shanidev. His heart overflowed with gratitude and mind lit up with perfect understanding. King Chandrasen was visiting his daughter Padmasena and he was astounded to see a magnificent looking man in his daughter's palace. He inquired sternly, "Who are you?" Vikramaditya replied, "My lord, I am your necklace thief and the singer who lit up the city last night. You may want to see the merchant who complained to you about me." King Chandrasen stared at Vikramaditya in disbelief and rushed to merchant Shripati's house along with him. Vikramaditya led the merchant and King Chandrasen to the artist's studio and pointed at the swan in the painting and said, "This swan had swallowed the necklace of Shripati's daughter on that fateful night." As everyone looked on doubtfully, the swan emerged from the painting and the diamond necklace in its beak and left it on the peg. Shripati, the merchant, and King Chandrasen profusely apologized to Vikramaditya for their grave error. And King Chandrasen asked again, "Who are you? Where do you come from?" Vikramaditya replied, "My name is Vikramaditya. I am the king of Ujjaini." Hearing these words, King Chandrasen bowed to him and pleaded, "I have committed grave injustice towards you. Please have mercy on me, O great king. I do not know how to repent for my mistake." Vikramaditya replied kindly, "It was my fate that I was destined to suffer. Please do not be remorseful." King Chandrasen and Shripati offered to Vikramaditya their daughters Padmasena and Alolika in marriage. The wedding ceremony took place with great fanfare. Vikramaditya gave away lots of gifts to the poor in charity and left for his capital city Ujjaini with his wives. The people of Ujjaini were overjoyed to see their king again and decorated the whole city. On an auspicious day, Vikramaditya was enthroned again and he ruled wisely and justly for many more decades. Thus concludes the Shani Mahatmya, offered at the feet of Sri Shani Dev. May Shani Dev show mercy and bless all those who read this story on every Saturday during their Sati, Ashtam Shani or Shani Mahadasha. Om Sham Shanescharaya Namah.